The forces of the Cult of Ulric have marched on Lustria, and leading the way are the famed Demigryph Knights. Heavily armored and riding fearsome beasts of war, they are some of the greatest warriors in the Empire. Ranks upon ranks of Empire halberdiers will make up the front line, while Knights Panther, dedicated to the eradication of all things chaos, circle for the killing blow. Knights of the White Wolf, with their immense hammers, serve the god of wolves in winter, and great swords will provide much needed punch in the infantry fight. Dismounted Teutogen Guard are the hand-picked elite bodyguards of the R. Ulric, with a thunderous charge and armor-piercing capabilities, and the Swords of Ulric and Pistoliers will round out the rest of Middenheim's forces. The Tomb Kings of ancient Nehekhara are also here, drawn to some unholy power source. Immense bone giants lead the way, bound by the magic of Lich Priests stomping towards the front lines of the Empire forces. The Screaming Skull Catapult will sow terror and confusion in the Empire army as massive undead constructs do their damage. Great Bow Ushabti will cause carnage from range, firing arrows as tall as a man, while the Teutogen Guard and Casket Guard, armed with enchanted Khopesh sickle swords, bolster the main line. Mummies, skeleton warriors, and heavy Tomb King horsemen round out the rest of the army. Let's get into the battle. Here at Milk and Cookies Total War, we like to keep Warhammer battles lore friendly, and what could be a better way to do that than have the Empire and Tomb Kings fight over a continent few outsiders have ever been to. This is beginning of the end times, a new build with new units and mechanics, and when you look at those Demigryph Knights, they are absolutely gorgeous. Much improved over the last model, and you'll find that there have been many such improvements in this new build. No word on when that will be available yet. I am playing as Middenland, probably using that interchangeably with Middenheim. Just get over it. I have brought an Ulric-themed force armed to the teeth with, fittingly enough, Warhammers. All about punching power and getting good charges off, which can be problematic when you're charging straight into the teeth of massive undead constructs like Ushabti and Bone Giants. And the Wolf Priests of Ulric will be in the center of my army. They're pretty important because with their inspiring presence and chant ability, that will hopefully keep my army from breaking. Tomb Kings rely a lot on stacking morale penalties, and I hope to at least partially counteract that. Up top, I have a bunch of these Teutogen Guard, and I have a Hellstorm rocket battery and mortars that I will be firing into the Tomb King's army from. Got some stakes positioned up top to prevent the Tomb King heavy horsemen from charging into my lines, and I do have my cavalry up there as well, and I'm going to unleash hell into the middle of this Tomb King army and go for those Tomb King's heavy horsemen. If I can eliminate the mobility for the Tomb Kings, that will be a great start to the battle. Probably dropped about 12 or so models in that Tomb King heavy horseman unit. The Ushabti with great bows are a new unit in this mod, and they are pretty devastating. They have good melee capabilities, and they basically shoot scorpion bolts, which can obviously do a ton of damage. Bone Giants have been improved so that they do less charging through enemy lines and more sticking in melee, swinging their swords. They do a lot less kicking as well, and they're going to be pretty scary to deal with. I don't have a ton of gunpowder on the field, and now the Teutogen Guard are going to start their long and deadly approach across the barren, well, I guess this isn't really barren, but the plains of Lustria before we get into the dense, thick jungle fighting. And I'm going to be trying to take as many of those down as I can with my artillery, but I'm playing against Rannin, who is from Warhammer Weekend Times. He also has a Call of Warhammer channel, so definitely go check him out. I'll put a link in the description. But his Tomb Guard are going to go into Spaghetti Line, which is a great way to counteract artillery fire in Medieval 2, or really any Total War. The Spaghetti Lines, I know people don't really like them that much, but they are very useful in Total War games, and he's going to use that to good effect here. Still, not going to protect him completely from my Hellstorm rocket battery, which I love the animation. You'll see the rockets kind of spinning through the air lazily as they move towards their target. Very cool animation that's going to do a bit more damage. On second thought, I should have been focusing on those Bone Giants with my artillery, because a single strike from our artillery will ignore all their HP and possibly take out a single model or multiple models, and that would be a really big deal because I don't have much gunpowder on the field in this game. I only have the Pistolier unit and those artillery pieces. Knights Panther and Demigryphs just charged a bunch of those Scarabs on the side, and now the Bone Giants coming up the center, charging through my lines with ease. My Spaghetti Lines are not going to hold against that, and he's going to charge through and wade into melee, and each swing of those massive Kopeshes, and whatever cudgels they're wielding are going to be a big problem for my Middenlanders. Now the charge from the Tomb Guard are going to come in now, and this is where the melee engagement is going to get super intense. Going to try to hold the line with the Halberdiers, but they only cost 700 gold. They are relatively weak Empire State troops, and the Tomb Guard and these frontline Ushabti should have no trouble cutting through. I am going to friendly fire the crap out of my own guys a bit, but I am also going to do quite a bit of damage to these Tomb Guard as well. A lot of those units made it to my lines about half strength, which is a pretty big deal. And now I have my Demigryphs moving from the flank into the Screaming Skulls and Mummies in the back lines. And this part was weird. I don't know if they've just been given faster attack animations or what. Demigryphs with halberds are incredible in this mod as they are in Total War Warhammer, but they seem to move really fast too, and their attack animations kind of spaz out, and they look like fast forward a bit occasionally, but I don't know if that always holds true. It just seemed to hold true when I charged in there. Now my Knights of the White Wolf with their massive cavalry hammers going to charge down the hill into the not ready Tomb King Heavy Horsemen, and as I charge in, the Knights of the White Wolf have one of the best cavalry charge bonuses in the entire mod. I think it's 11 or something really high like that, so they can utterly obliterate units off the charge, as can a lot of Lance Cavalry, of course, in Medieval 2, but he has a lot of other cavalry units down there, so I have to be careful. That's my general unit. Don't want to be losing him too early on. The morale penalties that stack from the Tomb Kings, along with the death of my general, could be very devastating. Still have my Wolf Priests of Ulric in the back, chanting and giving myself big morale buffs to keep my guys in the fight, keep them in the fight against these undead terror-causing units. And now my cavalry, the Knights Panther and the Demigryphs, are going to swoop down from the flank and look for some strikes to hit in the back lines, take out some soft targets, maybe go for the Skeleton Archers and the Skeleton Horsemen, get all these annoying range units off the field. First and foremost, though, again, got to eliminate that mobility, so they will go into the Heavy Horsemen, and that will be an intense fight. But with Demigryph backup, that should go relatively well for the Empire, and the forces of Middenland should be able to cut through all that cavalry without too much trouble. But the main infantry engagement is not going super well. As you can imagine, Ushabti, backed up by Bone Giants, are going to be able to cut swaths through the middle of the Middenland forces, and each swing of those Kopeshes are going to bring down like 5 or 6 really elite units. The Teutogen Guard are solid. They're not the highest tier troops in the Empire roster, but in terms of infantry, they are one of the better troops. Huge charge bonus, armor piercing, as I said earlier, so they can be very good. They have great morale, but my general is going to go down here, and that is not good. The Screaming Skull Catapult doesn't seem to have made too much of an impact because I charged it early on, but still a lot of the Tomb Kings units cause terror, and as that happens, my left flank is basically going to break, and I'm going to be forced to commit my Wolf Priests of Ulric to the left flank to try to bolster that. But there's not much left on that side. That's going to allow his Tomb King Heavy Horsemen to come in from the flank, and his Ushabti to move into the rear of my the middle part of my army. Demigryph Knights with halberds in the back, cutting through some Skeleton Horsemen. Again, not going to be too problematic here, but these are not where Demigryphs shine, at least not the Lance version. You can do well in sustained melee combat, but you're much better off cycle charging, and I'm not really doing that right now, so kind of getting lost in the micro a bit. And now his Ushabti with great bows are still in the back, causing a ton of carnage with those scorpion bolts they're firing. I don't know if they have, they certainly have armor piercing. I don't know if they can penetrate multiple targets and take down a bunch of units with a single shot. That is something I'd have to ask the mod creators on, but regardless, they're doing a lot of damage to me and taking out a bunch of my tie-down cavalry in the back line. So those Ushabti with great bows are going to be very important. I have to shift my focus on them pretty soon here, or I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. The Mummies are engaging my great swords, and after the impetus of the charge wore off from my Teutogen Guard and my great swords, they seem to be doing a little bit less well in melee. Those constructs are really putting the hurt on me, and now I have Empire Halberdiers routing through a bunch of Skeleton Archers. It's a bad retreat path. They're going to get cut to pieces as they do that, so that those Halberdiers are not going to come back. And this was weird. So I'm going to charge straight into Mummies, which are a 2 HP unit, I believe, but I'm going to drop like flies, which you don't typically see when a cavalry force charges headlong into an infantry unit, even if they have multiple HP. Usually an elite tier cavalry force will destroy a infantry unit, but in that case I lost a ton of my Knights Panther, and I think it might have been because the Ushabti with great bows were firing in from behind. That would explain why they weren't really blocking shots. The shield block chance didn't seem to matter, and they lost so many men, but I didn't see any missiles, so I wasn't 100% sure about that. But if indeed Rannin did focus them down from behind with the great bows, that was a great move. I lost a ton of cavalry there, and in the late game, I need my cavalry to win this. My infantry is routing at this point. Almost my entire infantry force is gone, and they might come back if I can get my cavalry in a good position to start charging stuff and rally my guys, but that's a lot of routing, and that's a lot of terror-causing units that are chasing them down, and you're not going to run away from Bone Giants. They move way faster than regular infantry, and as my forces start to break, those Ushabti and Bone Giants are going to run me down and give them a very, very bad day. So lots of dead Midlanders here in the dense jungles of Lustria, and I don't think there's a whole lot I can do at this point. You look at the balance bar, it's like 90-10 in Rannin's favor. My Empire infantry just broke relatively soon, and the Empire is a great faction, but they do seem to struggle when they're facing off against forces like the Vampire Counts and Undead, who can stack a bunch of different terror-causing units. Now, Terror in and of itself, I don't think stacks, but I believe you can stack the Screaming Skull Catapult morale debuff and the regular terror-causing units of the Tomb Kings. So that is seriously problematic, and it just caused my army to rout. And I lost my general too, which is obviously not a good way to go when you're facing off against this many terror-causing units, and that was certainly a mistake on my part. Mortars are still firing in to the great bows, and the Demigryph Knights with halberds are causing so much carnage in the back lines, probably over 300 kills at this point. They've charged a lot of important stuff, killed a lot of units. Well, I say important stuff, they didn't get into the back line where they were really needed. They didn't charge into the main infantry force where they were really needed. I needed to kill a bunch of the Ushabti with repeated charges. I needed to kill the Tomb Guard with those rear charges, and I really didn't get that. I was kind of messing around with the Screaming Skull and these archers and the cavalry in the back, but he was able to tie me down for a long time. Those Tomb Swarms, the Scarabs, blocked a lot of my cavalry charges at the beginning, and I had to deal with all that wheat and chaff that I really didn't want to, and it was really just well positioned from Rannin, and it's going to mean that I can't get my cavalry where it was needed at the right time, and I'm going to lose the battle because of it. So another big charge coming in from into the Skeleton Archers from the Demigryph Knights. They will make their last stand here, but at this point, there is very little I can do to change the outcome of the battle. So we'll put it in a double fast forward. See, I charge into the Ushabti with great bows, just trying to kill a couple more, and I am going to drop some models there, but getting worn down. And even the elite shock troops that are the Demigryph Knights cannot save or change the outcome. So again, very well played from Rannin. Again, he's at Warhammer weekend times, and it was a really fun battle. I love this aesthetic, like this map in particular is amazing with a bunch of the new units. It was just a really awesome setting for a battle. And looking at kills here, we can see that my Demigryph Knights with halberds got almost 400. I did manage to get more kills than Rannin, but certainly wasn't enough. He outnumbered me by about 300, and they don't rout. And all of his most important units, the Bone Giants, wasn't able to kill any of them with my Pistoliers, even though I was firing into them for a while from behind, and I wasn't really able to kill too many of his Ushabti either. So that was the battle. We can get a look at the kills here. A lot of my cavalry did really well. Like you can see there, a lot of them are over 200 kills, but they weren't charging the high value targets. They weren't charging the Ushabti and the undead constructs that were really important, that were changing the infantry fight in Rannin's favor. So better cavalry micro, better army composition, maybe a bit more gunpowder could have been beneficial. But hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll be bringing you much more content on this mod very soon.